There is a conversation that all of us avoid like plague through our lives, and that is the conversation about death. And somehow I believe very deeply that by contemplating or introspecting about death, we are better able to value the life that we lead. I think also the pandemic has really made this conversation alive, and I am going to actually use the opportunity today to talk about the 7 karma codes that can help us value our lives much more, focus on how we want to live each day, and become more fearless about death. Interestingly enough, this book, the seed for it, was also born around an experience of death. My family and I, we were in a terrible car crash about 2 decades ago. And my 6-year-old daughter was in that crash. She had a really powerful experience, which I learned of many, many years later when she was 18, and I was doing a regression session for her. And I realized that she had actually, with her very young and pure mind and with the third eye open, had actually seen my soul leave the body and move into the afterlife. And for her, it was like Mama had died. So it created the trauma and the fear of separation in her mind. And for many months and years later, she kept asking me the question, Mama, who's going to be there for me when Papa and you die? Who's going to guide me? Who's going to show me the path? Who's going to tell me how to live my life? And I think that question really haunted me quite deeply. And when the time was right, because there is always a right timing for everything, I was given this flash from within my mind that this is the time to start writing the book. My daughter was 17 then. She was in the hospital and she was down with a dengue attack in the ICU. I came back one evening from the hospital and I had this flash, start writing the book. And that evening itself, I started penning the book down. This book is dedicated not just to my child, but to every child on the planet and every human on the planet, because I feel it has come from something beyond me. And so I'm really happy and glad that I'm able to share these insights with you today. So what is karma? At a very simple level, karma is the law of reciprocity. What you sow, you reap. But for many people, karma translates into punishment for sins. Not for the awakened mind. The awakened mind knows that karma is a harvest of conscious choices that they have made through life. And so the very first karma code, the Suvasana code, is about the karma of waking up. All of life, all of our suffering in life is designed to wake us up. Every time we have a disease or we have some sort of brutal encounter with life, a loss of a job, some other loss of money, loss of anything that we value, we become really hurt. We start blaming our destiny. We start blaming ourselves. And we go into this dark vortex of grief and negativity. But we have to understand that suffering is designed to wake us up. It is a loving call from the universe. It is a loving call from our higher mind to remind us that we have got to involve with the routine, mechanical way of living, and we have forgotten our purpose for why we are here. So we need to remember that purpose. All of life, any form of life, comprises of 3 vibrational qualities, the 3 gunas. There is tamas, which is dark, heavy, inert. There is rajas, which is active and energetic. And there is sattva, which is pure, tranquil, and calm. And the purpose of life is to increase our sattva, the degree of purity in our soul consciousness, and to reduce the tamas in us. Really meaning moving from darkness to life as we go through our experience of life itself. Quantum of tamas in us and to increase the quantum of purity or sattva. Now, what happens is that when we encounter any suffering in our life, we get so identified with the suffering. We get into the blaming, we get into the feeling miserable about it, that we actually forget that this is the best and most powerful opportunity for me to wake up. Because it's important to remember that it's only when we are facing fear can we build courage in us. It is only when we are faced with great suffering in our life that we can wake up at the soul level and remember, why did I incarnate on the planet? Why am I here? What is my greater purpose in life? And so, can we use during periods of great suffering, can we use the power of prayer? Can we use the power of gratitude to be able to engage with that suffering in a way to soften my soul, in a way to increase the sattvic qualities in my soul, rather than responding in the mechanical way of becoming broken, despondent, grieving, being miserable and unhappy, which is only going to amplify the darkness in my soul. So that is the question that the first karma code, the Suvasana code, is asking us. Suvasana, the term itself, talks about the force of powerful positive tendencies. Am I using my suffering to increase the force of my powerful tendencies for building my tolerance, for building forbearance, for building patience in me, for building fortitude? Or am I losing myself to negativity? That is what the first karma code asks of us. And I think that's an active choice that the awakened soul needs to make. Am I choosing to wake up, or am I choosing to remain a victim of life? This then leads us to the second code, which is the Homa code. When we enter into life, we know that every soul comes with a quantum of three kinds of karma. There is the Sanchita karma, which is the sum total of the storehouse of all of past karmic records. And it's too much for any soul to bring into any one single incarnation and hope to settle the record, or to burn all of that karma, because it would be overwhelming. It would create a huge amount of pain and grief and complexity. So it brings only a chosen quantum of karma to redeem, to burn into a positive life, and to enjoy also. It is both positive karma and negative karma. That quantum which you are going to address in this lifetime is your prarabdha. So whatever you are experiencing right now, if you have been born into comfort, or if you are experiencing loving relationships, those are the fruits of your positive past deeds. Even the fact that you are sitting and participating in this conversation on karma today is the fruit of positive past deeds, because only if we have made and held an aspiration for the truth can we be engaging in conversations about the truth today. So the prarabdha is what I'm experiencing in my life today. At the end of this life, wherever my math is, how much tamas I've added, how much sattva I have added, whatever that is at the moment of death is going to be my net balance or my agami karma, which I am going to carry forward. And like I mentioned in the previous code, the objective of life is to exit life having burnt karma. So my net balance of poor karma should be less and positive karma should be more. That should be the objective. How we deal with our suffering. The second karma, the Homa code, talks about, can we surrender our suffering? How do we deal with our suffering is going to determine whether we're going to increase tamas or whether we're going to increase sattva. So if I do deep inner work through my life, if every time that I'm facing a difficulty or a challenge, every time I have a breakdown with someone, I'm angry at someone, I am having difficulties in my life, I'm feeling depressed, I'm going through the torment of my inner emotions, if I am going to responsibly work with those emotions and process those emotions in a responsible way, where I don't react and cause damage to others, cause damage to myself, then I'm reducing my poor karma. But if I'm going to be reactive in nature, then I'm only going to increase the tamas inside of me, and that is detrimental to my purpose. And so, am I doing the work to process my difficult emotions, or am I repressing them? Am I running away from my difficult emotions? We are all conditioned to actually do that, but we need to retrain ourselves to work with difficult emotions. We need to work with all of the false beliefs that we have in our minds that are a result of the coping mechanisms maybe we developed as children to escape pain. There may be some family beliefs, there may be transgenerational beliefs about which are not really true. So it's important for us to mine all these false beliefs, work with them, remove them, because as the Patanjali Yoga says, that it is the distortions of the mind that create all suffering. Am I actively doing that work with my emotions and my beliefs is going to determine how I respond to my suffering. Can I give up the sad story of my pain? Can I stop being a victim? Can I become empowered to do the inner work and actually through that process build my vulnerability, build my humility, and build my aspiration and desire to know the truth about myself and all things in life. And I'd like to mention that no, this is not a very simple exercise. It takes years of practice. And for the benefit of humanity, for all people, I have put a lot of these processes and methods and how to work with your emotions, etc., onto my YouTube channel, the Suzy Singh YouTube channel. Please feel free, if you feel motivated or inspired to actually work with your emotional processing, you can listen to those videos and you can start working with your emotional and mental states from today itself, so that you can feel more response able when you're going through difficult times, rather than simply reacting from your primal brain, which all of us, we react mostly because of the primitive brain. And we have three brains. So there is the reptilian brain, which is designed to protect us. It's a survival mind, and we respond from there. But we also have the second brain, which is the mammalian or emotional brain, which usually gets hijacked. And the third brain, which is the seat of human potential, which is the prefrontal cortex. It's here where the third eye is. This contains all of our godlike qualities of compassion, of tolerance, of love, of sharing, of empathy. And our objective in life is to really expand this third brain. So I would urge you all to give in to the summons of the second karma code, which is burn your dark emotions through that sacred homa. Perform that homa with your breath, and you can learn how to do it by watching the videos. This then brings me to the third karma code, which is the Swadharma code. This is the karma of finding and spreading happiness and joy through our talents and our skills. Now, how do we use the Rajasic quality, the active energetic quality? Do we use it to increase sattva, or do we use it to increase our tamas, is the question this particular code addresses. Whenever we align our work that we do every day, when we align it with the purpose that our soul has entered this life into, with our passions, with our inherent tendencies, with our basic quality, our nature, our swabhava, then we experience a great deal of joy, fulfillment, and we spread that joy to others because we are happy within us. The wellspring of joy is active and flowing through us. Let me give you an example here. We have all heard some of Beethoven's music. He was almost deaf, and yet he created the kind of music that for eons has brought so much peace, joy, enjoyment, pleasure, tranquility to so many people. In more recent times, I can think of at least two people who I hold in very dear regard. The first one is the shame and vulnerability researcher, Brené Brown. She has used her work, which she's extremely passionate about, to do some path-breaking research and findings on human experience of shame and building courage and all of these, building these virtues and overcoming these negative emotions, which has helped millions of people across the globe. And you can see that her work truly fulfills her and it brings so much benefit to the others. So the question is, are we doing the work that brings us joy and that is of value to others? There is also Dr. Gabor Mate. He is an ADHD and a de-addiction expert. He himself suffered from ADHD, but he used his pain like a wounded healer, and he's brought relief to uncountable number of people, addicts who were homeless, who had no one who could, support them. He's helped them, and he has brought so much understanding of addiction and its causes to people, to families, and it has really helped enormous number of people. So the question that this code begs of us is the work that we wake up to every morning. Are we really and truly enjoying that work, or do we do that work only for the money? So many of us are engaged in professions or doing jobs which we do only because it fetches us that salary at the end of the month. But what is the quality of our experience? Are we in that work being joyful? Are we being harmonious with our colleagues? Are we being nice to people? Are we building our sattvic tendencies, or are we being irritated, angry, resentful, remorseful, angry, upset all the time because we hate our job? So I think it's important for us to re-examine and re-look at our definition of success. Does success mean to me only a job that fetches me great money, good title, good designation, good network, good social optics, fame, name, but it doesn't fulfill me? If that is the case, that I hate my job, but I do it only for these reasons, then perhaps we need to re-examine what we are doing, because we are not using our talents and our skills to build our sattvic qualities. We are using it to increase our tamas. Perhaps we also need to examine the definition of success itself. Can success be measured in the currency of personal fulfillment, joy, happiness? Or should it purely be measured in net worth and bank balances? That is the question that the third code begs us to address. And now we arrive at a most important code, the fourth code, Anubhava code, which is the karma of redemption and learning in relationships. The soul, before it incarnates, chooses its family of birth and the context, depending upon various factors, what karma it needs to burn in that life, what it needs to learn, and how it can be elevated at the end of that incarnation. So your parents, your siblings, the person you're going to marry, the kids you're going to have, these are people that we have past karma with, that we need to settle accounts with. And please note, it's not settle scores with, but settle accounts with, because there may be a lot of loving accounts and there may be some other accounts which are unloving accounts, and we need to bring our love to them. So it is not punitive. Please, I'd like to repeat this over and over again. Karma is not punishment. Karma is an opportunity to learn. There are 4 reasons why we will choose to be related, or why we will choose to have certain people in our life presently in our prarabdha. First reason is, of course, redemption of karma. We may have hurt some people because we weren't sensitized to how our treatment of them was landing for them. And so we are here to become sensitive to their feelings, sensitive and correct those things, bring them some degree of calm and soothing through our understanding. And that will depend upon how awakened we are and what choices we make. Do we end up hurting them even more? Do we end up being hurt by them? Or are we able to bring closure and completion of that karma? The second reason is unfinished business. There may be many lives where the life has been abruptly aborted for some reason. It's come to an end and we weren't able to complete whatever we had set out as a context for that life or the syllabus for that life. And we are here to continue that unfinished business. The third is that we may want to learn, grow, evolve, or become a teacher to someone who is in our life presently. And of course, the fourth is that there is group karma or family karma that we are part of, engaged in from previous lifetimes, and we now have to participate and bring closure to that group karma. So people who are difficult challenges in this lifetime, people who we find difficult to deal with, they are in fact our greatest teachers. They are also, that relationship holds the greatest potential for the most accelerated burning of karma. And which is why I would say, identify that one relationship in your life that is really, really hard, and try and not resist the difficulties that are arising there, but willfully and with strength, with courage, willing to do the hard thing, willing to do the right thing, the useful thing. Please engage in that relationship with compassion, because it will help you greatly and it will help that person greatly. And the minute that that past karma is resolved, you will actually transform the quality of that relationship. Usually what happens is that we resist, we create more relationship, we create more ugliness and angst in that relationship, and that karma never gets resolved, and so that relationship never improves. But if we are willing to be in a state of surrender and acceptance, and choose and reaffirm to ourselves and pray for strength, God, help me do the useful thing. Help me to be compassionate in this relationship. Trust me, you will be able to see that relationship transform in this very life, and it will seem like a miracle to you. So please, please do it. There are 3 errors that we usually make in these relationships, and I'm just going to very briefly mention them. We end up being very judgmental, and that judgment then creates a feeling of superiority or inferiority, which does not allow you to be loving anymore. If you're feeling superior in that relationship, then it'll lead to ego inflation. And again, tamas is activated. If you're feeling inferior, then the inadequacy, the feeling of I'll never be good enough, is going to keep you from setting right boundaries or strong boundaries, and you will not be able to do right by your own self. So judgment, try and be mindful that you don't judge people, particularly in your difficult relationships. The second is criticism. Criticism totally breaks the other person down. It shames them. It impacts negatively their sense of worthiness and self-esteem. And so instead of criticism, I think we need to find more loving ways of engaging with those people. If nothing else, I suggest that we stop criticizing. I always say, if you can't build somebody up, don't pull them down. And so there's criticism, there's judgment, and there is constant complaining or blaming. Blame immediately activates fight or flight, which is your primal response. It is your protection response. And then the possibility of any dialogue or conversation in that relationship is over. So please avoid these three errors. And what I suggest that you actually do is to build a strong relationship or an enduring relationship is practice tact. T-A-C-T. Can you practice tact? Tact is transparency. So can you try and be transparent? Very often in difficult or challenging relationships, we are not entirely transparent. We say some things and we keep some things to ourselves, or we do not express openly what our ask or our need in that relationship is, and therefore that relationship suffers. So please be transparent, ask freely for your needs to be met, and be there for them. The second thing of the tact is A, which is act lovingly. Love is all about, or relationship strength is built on little acts of service. So how can you be there for the people who you are having a difficult equation with, or the people that you actually want to strengthen your bonds with? The third is communication, C. All relationships are built and strengthened through communication. So keep the dialogue open, keep talking. That's the only way you will have a better understanding and appreciation of each other. And the last T is build trust. Just because you've had a difficult experience once, very often we just stop trusting the other person, and that leads to the detriment of the relationship. So please build trust repeatedly. That is what vulnerability is all about. That even though you know you might be hurt, you're willing to be wounded repeatedly in honor to fully show up in a relationship. So that is what the karma of learning in relationships and redeeming our past karmas in relationship urges us to do. And let's avoid the three errors, and let's follow the principle of tact, T-A-C-T, to strengthen our relationships. The fifth karma is Dana code, and it is the karma of building empathy through generosity. The human mind is wired for connection. But unfortunately, what happens in our childhood traumas, they rewire that brain for protection, which creates the illusion of separation, of you versus me. Now, the best way of reversing this illusion, the sense of separation, is through the heartfelt practice of generosity. Because when I am being generous in an authentic way, then I am wanting to alleviate your pain. I am willing to feel your suffering, and I want to do good by you. What that does is it reduces our self-absorption, and in turn, it increases our empathy. We curate empathy when we are there for another person's pain. We are building that virtue of empathy in us. The second thing it does is it reduces our busyness from the mechanical nature of existence, and it makes us more human, more compassionate to another person. And the third very important thing is that it reduces our transactionality in relationships. You know, even in our closest relationships, even with our children, with our partners, with our parents, you will find if you're being truly honest with ourselves, there is always a hidden agenda. And the hidden agenda is, I'm doing this for you, what will you do for me? So for example, very often it is said that parents' love is unconditional. But even the parent says, I have done so much for my children. I go to work, I earn money, I'm raising you, I'm paying for your education. Why are you not respecting me? Now, that is an expectation. It is not unconditional. And therefore, when we practice generosity, every time that we can lovingly forgive our child's error and try and be a guide only if he's willing to receive it from us. If he's not willing to receive it from us, still be there for them without running them down or criticizing them. We are then truly building the ability to be unconditional in our relationships. And so this karma of generosity teaches us that love is an echo. You send it out, it comes back to you over a period of time. It's very important to remember when we are practicing this code, not to do it because we want to earn karmic brownie points. A lot of people do that. They do donations, they go and give their time, they volunteer their efforts because they think, I am being good. If that is the hidden intention in our minds, then that is not going to create unconditionality in us. See, the idea is that we are really working with increasing our purity and our sattva. It's not about maintaining the account book, actually. It is more about building virtues, changing the quality of our soul. The idea is to become more like God, built in the image of God. We're reclaiming that lost innocence, which makes us godlike. And that can only happen if that desire comes spontaneously from our very depth. So don't be generous. Don't reach out to help another person if there is some remorse or resentment about it. Don't do it because you think I am forced to do it. It is my duty to do it. But try and do it from that space in your being which wants to do it because it feels the other person's pain and it wants that other person to be happy or to be relieved of that suffering. So we've covered the 5 codes, and we now come to the 6th karma code, which is the karma of belonging. When the soul chooses to incarnate, it separates from God consciousness or that power that be, whatever each one of us may individually want to address it as. And then it enters the mother's womb as a fetus. At birth, it separates from the mother. And then the child grows up and leaves home to go find work, and it separates from the family. Now we can see this entire thing is a process of individuation. And during this entire experience, the individual starts to focus entirely on itself. And the sense of separation becomes quite deep. But that is the point when you want to marry and you want to belong back to something, a family unit, an organization, a cause, a purpose. And we can see that is a natural inclination of the soul to belong. So the 6th code, the Sangha code, urges us to examine what it is that we seek to belong to and calls out to us to actually want to belong to something. The interesting thing here is that very often we believe that we should be included by others. We should be included by our families. We should be given the attention by the organization, by our bosses, by our colleagues and everything else. We lay the responsibility on other people. We do not lay the responsibility on ourselves to belong to something. We expect others will include us. And I'm saying that, can we ask ourselves, what is it I want to belong? Like I said, it could be the organization I work for, it could be my family, it could be my neighborhood, it could be some cause that I feel very strongly about. But that sense of belonging is going to strengthen my experience of oneness. It is going to change my individuated behaviors into more constructive social behaviors. It's going to increase my social intelligence. And what it will urge us most specifically to do. For example, am I being competitive or am I being collaborative? If we truly ask ourselves that question, all of us, we are conditioned right through our schooling years to compete. How do we unlearn that? Because we are so given to separation consciousness that it is going to take a lot of unlearning of conditioned behaviors. So can I collaborate instead of competing? How can I overcome my desire to control someone and actually honor their sovereignty, honor their sense of independence? Can I give them the room and the space to find their own feet and stand on their own feet instead of running them down? So instead of criticizing them, how often do I compliment them? in a normal day, if we just look at how many times we criticize somebody and how many times we give them an authentic, heartfelt compliment, you will be surprised at how long that first list is and how short, or maybe there's nothing on the compliment side. Can we reverse that pattern? Can we start complimenting people a lot more than we are criticizing people? And very often we also have this feeling that I am a very direct person. I'll say it as it comes up, and that makes me authentic. No, that doesn't. That is being insensitive to others. I think it's important for us to be very aware and conscious of what is the impact that I am having on other people. That is very important, because that is what is going to make me feel one with them. That is what is going to develop the virtue of compassion in me. So let's just keep this as a daily reminder for ourselves. Instead of competing, am I going to collaborate? Instead of criticizing, am I going to compliment? Instead of comparing, they have so much and I don't have this, am I going to be inspired by other people's successes? Am I going to learn from them? If I know something better, can I teach someone? If something knows something better than me, or they have achieved something better than me, can I make them my mentor of sorts? Can I learn and grow through observation of their behaviors and successes? So all of these things are just going to change our social behavior, our social intelligence, make us way more empathic and compassionate towards others. As we practice these altered behaviors, what is going to happen is that there's going to be the unlearning in the brain. Your neurons will start firing in new ways. Neuroplasticity will start occurring. This third seat of the soul that I spoke of, the neocortex, is going to grow. And when that grows, we will spontaneously and naturally become more loving, more compassionate, less fearful, and more in the image of God. And this brings me now to the final and the seventh karma, which is the Sankalpa karma. It is the karma of remembrance. When a fetus is in the mother's womb, waiting for those tormenting 9 months and the birthing process, it prays every single day that when I am born into this life, I am going to do all the rightful things. I am going to do the right karma. I'm going to burn my past karma. It makes that vow to itself because it knows that the life that it is incarnating into, the Earth planet, is not an easy planet. It is a planet of redemption. And so life for every soul incarnating here, that soul knows it's going to be a difficult life. It may appear that some people have better lives and some people have worse lives, but for that individual, its life experience is always complicated. Its life experience always requires courage and tenacity. So that soul knows that it's entering into a difficult life, and it prays ardently to do all the right things so that it can break free from this cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. And yet, by the time a child is 7 years of age, it starts behaving like all other people around who have got lost into the hypnotic spell of human existence, of everyday life, of mechanical living. You eat, sleep, breathe, go to work. You just do the mechanical things. One day passes, you wake up another day. You're not interested in going into the depths of why I'm here or all these philosophical debates. Most people don't want to have them. They think it's too cumbersome, it's too intense. And so they never contemplate life and death. They never contemplate why they were born or what they're here to do. It just seems like, oh, we just landed here and let's live this life. And, you know, one fine day we wake up and life will be over and that's it. But that's not it. We're here for a reason. How can we remember that purpose and that reason every single day? Is by contemplating, how do I want to live today so that when death arrives, I can be fearless. When death arrives, that last dying thought is a sattvic thought, that I am ready to give up the attachment to the body and to the family and to everything that I've lived here. How do I prepare for that moment? Now we know that that dying thought and that dying experience is going to determine my experience in the afterlife and also where and how I incarnate in my next incarnation. It is there in the Bhagavad Gita. And it is important, therefore, that we prepare for that eventuality right through our lives. It's like saying that you cannot learn how to drive when you are in an accident. You have to know how to drive before you can get at the wheel and prevent an accident. Similarly, you have to learn how to face that final moment, how to gather your sattvic karmas through life, how to gather the right intention, how to do the inner work and prepare for that last moment. Another interesting thing is that people think that once you die, everything is over and you start over again, not realizing that when you die, you just drop your physical body and your etheric body, but your emotional, mental, and causal bodies travel with the soul into the afterlife. What does this mean? Every challenge, every difficult emotion, every difficult experience that you avoided by repressing it or by escaping it or by avoiding it, you are going to face it in its full force in the afterlife, because you do not have the personality or the coping mechanisms which allowed you to repress it while you were in the physical body. And so if you want to avoid all of the difficulties and the terror of the afterlife, it is very important that we find the courage to deal with it while we still have the opportunity in the bodies. Secondly, karma can only be redeemed when we are in the body. Karma cannot be redeemed in the soul state. So this is the opportunity. Every single day, can we remember we are here to build a positive suvasanas, our positive tendencies. We are here to build a purity. We are here to let go of our darkness. And as a last note, before I end my sharing, I'd like to talk about two very cute little terms which can serve as daily reminders to us, even if we don't remember anything else that I have spoken of. But if we can remember Shreya Karma and Priya Karma. So what are these two things? Shreya Karma is bitter now, sweet later. Priya Karma is sweet now, bitter later. Let me explain this briefly. So let's say that I am feeling provoked or angry at somebody, maybe my wife or maybe my children or somebody, and I feel I am right to feel angry at them, and I act it out. I actually say mean things and rude things in the spur of the moment. What I've done is I have practiced Priya Karma. I am feeling comforted and contented in that moment. I feel relieved because I've got it off my chest. I've said those things. But what I don't realize is I've increased my burden of karma. I have caused them hurt. I have caused my own physiology hurt because the anger is going to send the cortisol through my body and it's going to damage my body organs. I have destroyed the ecosystem. I have negatively affected the relationships. And going forward, maybe I'm going to feel guilty and remorseful about it also. So you can see in the moment, it felt like, okay, easy and comfortable. But in the long term, it was bitter. The opposite is Shreya Karma. I'm feeling very provoked. I'm feeling very angry right now, but I bite my tongue. I hold it in. I walk away. I sit with myself. I process my feeling. And I only come back and talk to them lovingly later when I've addressed the storm within myself. That is Shreya Karma. That is a responsible thing to do. That is me reducing not just my dark karma or my poor karma, it is also cultivating the qualities of compassion. It is cultivating vulnerability. It is cultivating tolerance, forbearance, fortitude. So many things are happening in that moment. It is also rewiring my brain so the next time I will not get so angry so easily. It'll be easier for me not to be angry. So as you can see, if every day I simply just wake up in the day and I pray to perform more sweet Shreya Karma and less harmful Priya Karma, which preys upon our soul, our mind, our bodies, then we can hope to lead more fulfilling lives, happier lives, and we can also evolve and grow and fulfill the purpose that we came into this incarnation for. That is all. Thank you very much for hearing me. The book is called Seven Karma Codes. Seven Karma Codes Heal the Storm Within by Suzy Singh. And I would also urge our viewers here that if you want to keep receiving insights, clarity, and answers to some of life's complex problems, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Suzy Singh YouTube channel. You'll keep every week, I upload maybe 1 or 2 videos that address some of the issues that we face in our relationships, in our life, in our work situations that can help you so that I can keep reaching out to you, even though I may not know you personally. My intent and my desire is to keep helping and supporting you in whatever manner that I can.